was $300 less than it is now in a much larger house. And everyone I know says their power bill has doubled. They shut down the 4 city-owned, high-quality, clean power plants. And I know I rant on this, and people say, why is he so obsessed? In war, you turn off the enemy's power. We're having our power turned off. You know, like in 2001 Space Odyssey, where he's turning off the power to each cell of the computer. I'm afraid, Dave, I'm afraid. They're turning America off. I'm watching them turn it off in front of me. And then they take all the power and all the money and all the energy and give it to themselves and just mass this evil against us and launch wars against Russia and turn Al-Qaeda loose in the Middle East. And then they're shutting down our energy sources. I'm going to cover the military news when I come back. It is so over the top that I can't even get into it. I don't know how to explain it. The most over-the-top sensational stuff I don't feel worthy to even cover. And I talked about this at the start of the show. 6:30 this morning. I get up, I go in, I'm looking at Infowars.com, and I go, I know Paul Watson, he publishes at about 6:30. He hasn't published yet. I bet he publishes in 1 minute. I go over, make coffee, walk back over 2 minutes later, hit refresh, boom. There's the article. And I read the article, and I already know everything in the article, but it makes me sick that I'm so right. And it makes me sick that these traitors in media know they're lying about us as the country is prepared to be completely taken down. And then I read another article about 30 minutes later that goes up, and I get really upset. And do you know why I got upset? I knew every word in the article. In fact, will you guys print me the article I asked you to pull up if you Google that term? The headline is Army Trains to Kill Demonstrators. And it goes back to the Army document 2012 and mentions Northcom and domestic control of everything we do and surveilling everyone. Army manual outlines plan to kill rioters, demonstrators in America. But in that, it mentions the document that's in the new article today. Document, Jade Helm commander plans to operationalize the CONUS base, or the contiguous U.S., the continental U.S. And it's all right here that, yes, Jade Helm is run and is a domestic takeover plan. That's why they're freaking out so much. And there's more when we come back. I'm going to be very honest with you. I say I don't let enemy propaganda get to me. But when I'm right, I'm right. And I just need to engage in leadership and not even sit here and defend what we're saying, but just lay it out. More and more, I need to come in here on the big TV screens behind me, if you're a TV viewer, and just like a professor, walk through with exhibits exactly what's happening and just not even address the propagandists. Because they just want us to address them and change the subject about making this a debate. It is nauseating, head-spinning, how many thousands of white papers and books and statements and C-SPAN hearings and Defense Department briefings that are online at the Defense Department's websites. So much of this stuff that I can't even consciously remember 5% of it. And then I'll be doing research on what's currently happening and then just go back over the same research we've had for years. And I'm like, wow, I forgot they had the admission of the civilian inmate labor camp program and how they're going to break up our families and process us with Social Security numbers and put us into forced work brigades. I mean, that's on Army.mil. Or how they admit domestic total CONUS domination to take out empowered individuals who are politically motivated and leading others. It describes shutting down peaceful citizen activity, taking over the states. And that's just in one Army document for CONUS under the meeting titled Mastering the Human Domain 2012. And I was mentioning this last week. We did special reports with David Knight and others on it on Monday. And Rob Dew, and then our listeners and other writers went and dug in and went, yeah, the commander of Jade Helm had press briefings, and in the manuals is the preparation to take on the American people. Yes, yes, yes. And that article, Master the Human Domain, the Domestic Plan for Jade Helm, Pentagon Goal of Information Domination Hidden in Plain Sight. It's taken over the local newspapers, the local towns. I mean, it is designed for full nationwide occupation that'll make the Reconstruction in the South look like a primitive operation compared to this. Now, obviously, it was a primitive operation. It was in the late 1860s, 1870s. And yes, I'll get into the whole commuter train situation and the rest of it. They're saying it might be terrorism. Another commuter train was hit by a projectile before its crash. Let me tell you, 9 times out of 10, in fact, more than that, probably 95% of the time, when you hear about passenger derailments or regular trains that are carrying freight crashing, they haven't updated in about 50, 60 years the rail beds in this country. You used to, when my dad was a child and his mother was getting her master's degree in Houston, my grandmother, they would get on the train in Teague, Texas. They'd drop her off in the morning, and it would bullet train at over about 105 miles an hour. This is like in 1955. My dad's about 5 years old, to Houston. On that very same stretch of line, it was a small, particular union-owned railroad. I know because my grandfather's grandfather ran it. The point is that my dad worked for the railroad. That's why I know about railroad stuff. You can't make freight go over 45 miles an hour on that very railroad today. 105 miles an hour was the safe speed in 1955. Now you can't go half that, basically. That's why the trains are flying off the tracks. They are pieces of junk. When you're on New York subways and they're flying around and it's jumping up and down, it's rotting. But nothing compared to the general rail lines. So what else is there to know? The railroads are basically the worst in the world. We have Mexican trains get up to 75 miles an hour, and they've got bad railroads. 6 dead, hundreds injured after Amtrak train derails in Philadelphia. Yeah, I won't get near an Amtrak, and I'll tell you why. Horrible government service, checkpoints, they'll steal the money out of your bag, claiming it's drug money, even $500. That's in the news today. And you don't get anywhere because you're going 45, 50 miles an hour, and they'll speed up to 60, 70. Man, it is a death trap. A death trap. There it is. DEA takes $16,000 from train passenger because it can. Any cash is inherently suspicious and can be deemed guilty, close quote, by the seizing agency with no corroborating evidence, no hearing, no judge, no nothing. I mean, this country is so far gone, it'll make your head spin. But let me just settle down and stop right there. And we'll get into the latest developments, because we have these new articles pointing out, I mean, again, we're overwhelmed here. We have hundreds of news articles saying the military's main enemy is the gun owners and the Tea Party and the veterans. Veterans first and Christians, but veterans are first, number one enemy. I mean, that tells you the government's been taken over by enemies right there. I mean, case closed. Then you've got hundreds of articles saying, isn't it great that the military's trying to take on the evil Tea Party because they're probably going to blow stuff up, when the Tea Party's done nothing wrong, but the Justice Department's saying, oh no, to every police department, they're getting ready to kill you. Can anybody say frame up, getting ready? I mean, 2 + 2 does equal 4. But then you go look at the commander. See, we start pointing out, hey, look, this Jade Helm logo is part of a larger operation, Mastering the Human Domain. That's an overall program that's 10 years old, accelerated the last 3 years for total domestic domination of the U.S. and the world and total control of all information, and then paramilitary forces lined up to back that up. And then we go, hey, let's look at the commander. Oh, he's the one tasked with domestic takeovers and the one talking about shooting demonstrators. Oh, and there's a new report. We got the video, Infowars.com. It's on DrudgeReport.com. Special forces train with cops for house-to-house raids. South Carolina residents warned they may encounter military drills. And they're told by the local news, oh, don't worry, it's for overseas. Yeah, with the local police practicing busting down the doors. No, it's not. There's been a secret program for at least 20 years. It's in my film, Road to Tyranny. The documents, the photos, the Marine Corps officer. I'll just say no, it was not non-commissioned. It's above that. His face blacked out. The only reason he called me is he lives here in Austin. He owns a computer company now. He was driving, and there was an Army checkpoint on I-35 searching cars. And they wanted to search his car. And he heard me talking about it and heard the news saying it didn't exist, so he brought me in, and he was showing me nothing classified, but photos of him at Space Command doing guard and or running some guards, and all the things he did and how they would raid gun shops in police uniforms, basically. And then we got documents from the FBI on video. I mean, it's in my film, Police Take to the Takeover, where there's an Army checkpoint on 35, and a car pulls up, an FBI agent gets out, hands Mike Hansen a document, and says, now get out of here. You've been given what you asked for. And Mike had already been there 2 hours, so he said, okay. And then Mike gets in his car, and it's classified. It says restricted, but we later learned it was classified. And it's like the districts in Texas and how the Army serves warrants secretly and how they also do helicopter surveillance and ground-penetrating radar. I mean, it's in the film. The documents are on Infowars.com. So this has been going on. But the point is, it's exponentially going up. But we have footage of an FBI agent getting out of a car, walking over after the Army flips out on us and after the police start threatening to arrest Mike. Mike says, I'm not going. I want to know who's in charge. The FBI shows up. One guy gets out of his LTD and hands Mike a secret document. I mean, my life is a Twilight Zone, folks. Mike doesn't want to come on the show. He doesn't want to be in public life anymore, and I just talked to him the other day, and his mom's been sick and stuff, and he's very successful in business, but he just doesn't want to come on the show. I've got to make Mike Hansen come on the show. He was my cameraman and went on all these trips. He's seen everything. Of course, we have the footage he shot, too, but that'd be a great interview to get. He's seen everything. He went into Bohemian Grove with me. He saw the Special Forces guy try to set the fire and blame us in Florida. He saw the dirty tricks. He was there when the four guys, it was 5 of them total, but 4 attacked me outside the TV station. He came out right at the end of it as they were helping themselves into the blue Astro van. I'm not saying I'm the toughest guy around, but, I mean, 4 guys start pounding you, you get pretty mean. That's when you either curl up in a ball and give up, or you open a big can of Tyrannosaurus Rex and start really, really hurting some people. And I can't help it. I'm a primitive animal at that certain level. I actually relish the fact that I tore one guy's nose off and stomped another guy's head in and just savaged them viciously. But the point is that we need to understand this is really going on, ladies and gentlemen. I get really upset about this stuff. We're going to get to this footage coming up in a moment. I'm going to give you a whole presentation. I'm going to skip this network break. That's the last of the day. I've got to stop. Before I go any further, we have a new product. I want to thank you all for so many of you getting it, because that helps fund the operation. But separately, ProstaGuard is a low-cost, The leading competitor is $40. And I'm going to just tell you, it's got 2 ingredients and isn't even as good as ours.